Hey guys, OG Albine here, bringing you guys my APA Little Cup Wi-Fi Season 2 draft analysis. Now, if you guys do remember, I mean, it wasn't too long ago, but if you are new here, we did participate in the APA Little Cup Season 1, Wi-Fi Season 1, where we actually went 10-0 in the regular season, so we performed really well. We had a really fun team with like Abra, Scraggy, Honedge, Magby, really fun offensive team. Went undefeated in the regular season. Unfortunately, we tanked and lost in the first round of playoffs, so I am definitely back with a vengeance this season. I would much rather win a championship than go undefeated in the regular season. That's the end goal overall, and yeah, hopefully this season we can up our performance from last season and come back and get our vengeance and hopefully take home the ship. But yeah, with that being said, let's jump right into the draft. We actually we're blessed to get randomized the first overall pick. Now, that wasn't because we were the first seed in last season or anything like that. We just got really lucky, and we happened to get the first pick. So we had our pick. We had our pick of the litter, basically. We can go anything we wanted, which is really cool because there's a lot of mons I really wanted to try that are really high up in drafts, and I usually always get like a mid pick in Little Cup drafts so far, at least up to this point. So I was thinking potentially Yama because that mon's absolutely busted with speed boost, and if you keep rocks away, it actually just wall breaks and runs through teams, and it's a great late game cleaner. I was thinking Meowth just because it's Meowth. It's phenomenal as a Eviolite pivot with regen. It's phenomenal with a scarf. Reckless sets can do work too. I believe it gets Swords Dance as well. It's a pretty decent Z user with like Z bounce and stuff like that. But I actually ended up settling on Volibee. And in my personal opinion, I think this is the best mod in the format. I'm sure not too many people would disagree with me. I think it's just the amount of things that it can do is insane. Knockoff is probably one of the most spammable moves in Little Cup, just due to everything wanting to hold an Eviolite or a Berry Juice or something like that. Not many things want to switch in. Even Resist, don't really appreciate it. Brave Bird, that's another thing, is flying types are incredibly valuable in Little Cup in my opinion. Flying spam is great. There's not a lot of steals. Rock types are very limited as well, so not much wants to switch in on an unresisted Brave Bird from Volibee, which can hit very hard. So its dual stabs are phenomenal. It has access to U-turn for pivoting, access to Roost for longevity, Defog to give me hazard removal, which is something I did not have very much of last season, and it ended up hurting me in a lot of matchups where I had to bring Defog P-Dove, and that was my only form of removal. So I'm glad we have a very reliable Defogger in Volibee. Not that I'll probably want to run it very often, but we do have the option. It makes teams less likely to just spam hazards versus us. It also has access to Nasty Plot, and being a Nasty Plot sweeper is phenomenal for us. You know, maybe having like a weak armor set where we can bait out a physical hit, get +2, and throw up a Nasty Plot, get +2/+2, Dark Pulse, Air Slash, and Heat Wave through teams. It really is a good sweeper in some matchups depending on what our opponent does have. So just the sheer amount of things that Volibee can do, I feel, makes it incredibly valuable and super sought after, and I'm really excited to use it because it's a mon that I feel has a good matchup, or a matchup to where it'll come in 95% of games. I really don't think there's very many games where I'm going to say, I don't think Volibee can do anything here. It really does always have some pretty good utility. Like I said, it's a great pivot, it's a great offensive mon, it's a great potential late game sweeper for the Nasty Plot set, and yeah, that is going to be Volibee. Now, with Volibee, I wanted to pair Magnemite. Magnemite, we dumped right into our free points and grabbed this in round 2. I was really surprised it lasted back to me because I think Magnemite is a phenomenal Pokemon. Steel types are very few and far in between, honestly, in the Little Cup format. So this gives me a great Fairy type check, which Volibee really does appreciate because Fairy types are probably the things that switch in the best on Volibee. If they can take a Brave Bird, take a couple Brave Birds, and they don't really care about the Dark Stab as much, they're more likely to switch in, and if we can catch those with the U-turn on Volibee, go into Magnemite, and start throwing off Volt switches, we'll have crazy momentum for our team, and that's the main allure of these two, is they form a phenomenal Volt turn core, which is great in Little Cup. Keeping up momentum is super important in my opinion. It kind of make or breaks games if you can position yourself correctly and get in your sweepers and your cleaners and your breakers without them having to take damage, because everything is so frail in Little Cup. It's actually really nice. This mon's great with Berry Juice, just like Volibee. Access to Sturdy, so Sturdy Juice sets are really nice for just kind of blanket checking everything in the tier. So if we really need to, we can Thunder Wave a big threat after popping our Sturdy Juice, and then maybe we'll switch out. Has access to dual screens as well, which is great. Access to Magnet Pull as well, and if we want to trap a specific steel type in a matchup, we definitely can, which can help out Volibee potentially, or even our some of our other mons on our team, which we'll get to in a second. It also has access to Endure to make sure that our Berry Juice procs at Sturdy. We can also run Recycle to kind of infinitely get back our Berry Juice, which is also very, very nice. Just overall, this mon is really, really nice, pairing with Volibee and kind of just complementing it and taking care of some of its weaknesses and things like that. So yeah, that's going to be Magnemite right there. Next up, we have Meowth. Now, I think Meowth with good Volt Turn is disgusting. I personally think this is one of the best tier 2s. Fake outs and feints from this thing are absolutely super, super strong. And the fact that the priority is even better in Little Cup. Technician's a really, really good ability, so we can run even like mixed sets with like Water Pulse and Hidden Powers and things like that. Has access to Taunt, has access to U-Turn and Knock Off itself. This one's a phenomenal breaker. The only things that really switch into it are potential like really bulky steel types. Other than that, nothing really wants to take on Meowth. Things kind of have to hope they can revenge it and things like that. But if we can get, say, Meowth in on a Volt Switch from Magnemite, they switch out of their Steel type and they go into something else. We get in Meowth, we throw off a Fake Out after said Volt Switch, and it either knocks it out or puts it in range of a Feint or something like that. I think that's really nice. It's a great breaker, great late game cleaner. My buddy Blinn absolutely loves this one, so I had to give it a try. I think we actually sniped him of it. So, yeah, definitely excited to use Meowth here. Like I said, it's very, very fast as well. I think it hits max 19, which is really nice to have that really, really fast mon, and then also that priority for our team. Just to check those, you know, scary setup sweepers and scarfers and stuff like that. So yeah, there is Meowth. And next up, with the start of our next wheel, because these are all kind of pseudo wheels, so Volibee was by itself, and then Magnemite and Meowth we paired together. The start of our next wheel, I ended up grabbing Clamperl. I really wanted a Shell Smash Sweeper, and I think Clamperl is absolutely really, really scary if you can get it set up. While it may not be as bulky as a lot of the other Shell Smash Sweepers in the tier, the fact that we can run Deep Sea Tooth plus, which doubles our special attack, and then we can Shell Smash and double our special attack again. If we can get this thing set up and we have like Stealth Rocks on the field to break sashes and stuff, nothing really stops this thing from sweeping. It's really, really strong. Also taking into account priority as well and potential scarfers and stuff. But if we can't get this thing set up at the right time, I really do think it's great. And with good Volt Turn, that gives us good opportunities to do so, in my opinion. Like if we bait in a Steel type with Volibee or something like that, we can go into Clamperl and potentially get up a pretty big Shell Smash, and then potentially sweep. Shell Smashers are very hard to deal with in the tier, in my opinion, and I think Clamperl does it very well for a tier 2 mon. It is a bit niche. The only time it's ever going to come to a game is when it's going to be a Shell Smashing set, so if it doesn't have the matchup or it doesn't set up on much, it probably won't come. But just having that option and forcing a bunch of prep, and then, you know, maybe bring it to like half to 3/4 of our games and getting a sweep off or two would be more than I could ask for from Clamperl. So yeah. And then with our second half of the wheel right here, I grabbed Sandygast. I wanted to secure a good ground type right away because, well, Magnemite is a good check to electric types, I suppose, in like a defensive sense. They can also run HP ground, and we're not doing much back with Magnemite, and Volibee does not appreciate electric types. It's one of the things that does, you know, resist Brave Bird and stuff like that. So I figured having a good ground electric type switch, and man, I cannot talk. A good electric type switching would be really, really important. I think Sandygast does that really well. It's a really reliable stealth rocker, has access to reliable recovery. We can even run rock polish sets and stuff like that to potentially sweep. His dual stabs are very nice. Having a ghost type is great too. This gives us another fighting type check for our team, unless they're running like potentially knockoff, but that's actually never really going to knock us out. So we can actually check them pretty well. And I figured Sandygast would be a good tier 3 mon to grab. It is one of the better tier 3 grounds in my opinion. I almost went with Swine Up again just because of how gross it is offensively, but I figured a more bulky ground would fit this draft a little bit better opposed to an offensive ground like Swine Up or something like that. So yeah, that is going to be Sandygast. Now at the next wheel, I wanted something to break steel types a little bit better. Sandygast can do so because it is a ground type and obviously stab and stuff like that, but everything else kind of relies on coverage or setup. And Machop, I feel, breaks steel types phenomenally. We can run Scarf sets with Dynamic Punch and No Guard just to confuse things, even things that switching well on Machop wouldn't appreciate being confused and things like that. Or we can run like gut sets with Eviolite or Flame Orb or something like that and just absolutely punch holes through teams, which would be really, really nice. It's pretty bulky with an Eviolite. It's most weeks going to be a Scarf set just to outspeed, potential steals and, other things like that and knock them out. So I figured Machop would fit the team very well as a tier 3 budget fighting. I think fighting is a really important type to have in Little Cup. It's phenomenally offensively. There's not too many bulky psychics, and if there are, they don't appreciate knockoff, which Machop does have access to. So I figured that would be a good pick for it, going forward. And then after Machop, I ended up grabbing Roggenrola. This gives me a flying spam check. I don't want to lose to opposing flying types like Doduo or what's another one? Rufflet. Yeah, my team last season, a big problem with it was actually I relied on priority heavily to beat those flying types like Ice Shard and, fake outs and stuff like that. Roggenrola gives me a good, decent check to those. It's another sturdy juice mon potentially. Also has access to weak armor, so if you want to potentially outspeed those mons after taking a hit and scare them out with, like a Rock Blast or something like that, that gives us that option. It gives us another Stealth Rocker opposed to Sandygast, so Sandygast isn't forced to come every week and get those rocks up for us. And yeah, Roggenrola is just a very reliable rocker. It hits pretty hard offensively, and it has two really nice abilities in Little Cup that can be exploited and, used for our benefit potentially, which is super, super nice. And yeah, that's going to be Roggenrola. Next up, we ended up grabbing Cleffa with the start of our next wheel. I wanted a fairy type, and there weren't much left in tier 3 or tier 2 or anything like that. So I ended up dipping into tier 4 pretty early to secure that I got this. I don't want people to just be able to DD up once with their dragon types and then lock into Outrage versus me. That just doesn't sound like a good idea, especially because they can just run Earthquake, or most of them get like ground coverage or fighting coverage to hit Magnemite. So that being my steel type isn't the most reliable check to dragon types and things like that. So I wanted Cleffa to kind of deter that. It gives me a Wish Support Mon, even though it's not the best in Little Cup. I think it gives me a Cleric as well. I'm pretty sure it gets Heal Bell. And yeah, it's basically here to prevent people from just beating me with dragon spam, which a lot of teams do have some pretty threatening dragons, so it is a good option to have in the back. And tier 4 in Little Cup, the jump from tier 3 to tier 4 in value and like usefulness is huge, and I figure this is one of the better tier 4s around that was left at least. And yeah, that's going to be Cleffa. Next up, we grabbed a tier 2 in Smoochum. Now, Smoochum is a phenomenal Pokemon, in my opinion. The only thing that really does switch into Smoochum are potential Dark types, which I believe we deal with well, and Steel types, and mostly Steel types, just because they resist the dual stab. And this thing doesn't get great coverage, otherwise it has horrible physical defense, but it has a monster special attack stat, and it has access to Nasty Plot as well. So if I can get off a Nasty Plot on like a special mon or something like that, and I've identified Scarfers and I know I outspeed everything, this mon honestly just sweeps through a lot of teams. It's really, really, really strong with its dual stabs. I think Ice Stab is really nice in Little Cup to have. It gives me a Psychic type as well, so people can't just Psychic is also, really, really nice offensive typing. Most of the time, it is going to come as like a Choice Scarf set, a Focus Sash set. Also has access to Fake Out, which is really useful in popping Sturdies and stuff like that on ground types and rock types. I would, potentially be able to Sturdy Juice up on it and knock it out with a coverage move or an Earthquake. Pretty much any physical hit, honestly. But yeah, I figured Smoochum was a really nice pick. I used it in APA Little Cup Showdown Season 2, and I had a lot of fun with it there, so I figured it would be a good fit for the team here. And then lastly, we ended up grabbing LowTab, and this wasn't like a, oh man, LowTab fits the team phenomenally. It was a grass type. I didn't have a grass type, so it gave me a ground resist, which is really nice. And other than that, it's kind of just there. It is a really cute mon. I love LowTab, but it's not going to be coming to a butt ton of games, but it is, a good value mon nonetheless, considering what was left, and I would rather have a ground resist than not have a ground resist. So I figured that would be super nice. Like, we do have Volibee, I suppose, to soak up ground hits, but then, most ground types get rock coverage, and Volibee doesn't soak those hits up well, so I wanted to have something to just straight up resist it at least, and potentially, throw off a Giga Drain or a Scald or something like that to scare those out or knock them out. And yeah, that is going to be our team for Little Cup Season 2. I actually really, really love this team. I think I drafted really well, and I'm super excited to use it. It's very momentum based in, Volibee and Meowth and Magnemite and things like that, just to get in scary breakers like Machop, Clamperl, Smoochum, stuff like that. And yeah, if you guys are excited for the season, be sure to drop a like. Let me know what you think about the team and all that stuff. And if you are new, be sure to subscribe so you can catch our games as they start going up next week. We also play in other leagues and stuff like that too, not just a little cup. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later.